So we're in pretty good shape in terms of the owl's head. We need to make some corrections, and then we can go ahead and add the eyes for the owl. Let's first correct the small little bump out that we're seeing over here towards the bottom of the owl's ear structure. Let's go ahead and turn off the guide. If you come up to the view menu, you can choose guides, and then you can choose hide, which will get rid of the guides, making it a little bit easier to see. What I'd like you to do is come over here and highlight the direct selection tool. Click on the little anchor point over here on the left-hand side. Hold down the shift key and do the same thing on the right-hand side. Then just use the down arrow key to move them. Then if you click away from them, you'll notice it's really cleaned up quite nicely over here on the left. Small bump out here still, so I'm going to go ahead and select this one more time and just use the right arrow key in the keyboard, and you'll notice that that does a pretty nice job of cleaning that up. Now we're ready to create the eyes, so let's turn the guides back on. If you come up to the view menu, from there you can choose guides, and then you can choose show guides. The keyboard shortcut, of course, is Command semicolon. It would be Control semicolon on Windows. Now what we need to do is come over and choose the ellipse tool. With the ellipse tool, I want you to select a white fill color, and it's really up to you in terms of what size you want to create the circle for the owl's eyes. I'm going to hold down the Option key here on the Mac to draw it from the center. It would be Alt on Windows. Click and drag out. The eye I'm going to create will probably be about the same height as these two guides that I have created. Once you do that, you want to copy it to your clipboard, Command-C or Control-C on Windows. Then you want to come up to the Edit menu, and from there, you can select Paste in Place, Command-Shift-V or Control-Shift-V on Windows. Now, we've essentially duplicated that shape. I want you to change the fill color to a tannish color. Really, it's completely up to you. And if you want to change the size, which you do, you can come over and highlight the Selection tool. Then, I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I'm using the keyboard shortcut Space Command. It would be Space Control on Windows. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag. If you hold down the Option key, you'll scale it from both sides. If you hold down the Shift key, you'll constrain it, and that reveals a little bit of white behind this tan section. We want to do that same thing. We want to repeat that process one more time. So in order for us to do that, we're going to copy this circle, Command-C or Control-C. Then we're going to come up to the Edit menu, and from there, we're going to choose Paste in Place. Again, we have a duplicate here, but we want to change this to black now. So come over and choose a black fill color. And again, with the Selection tool highlighted, you want to scale it down a little bit. I'm going to hold down Option and Shift to constrain it and to size it from all four sides. When you let go of the mouse, you should see the black and a little bit of that beige in the background. I'll scale it down just a little bit more. So I think that looks pretty good. So that's looking pretty good for the owl's eyes. Now we want a little bit of a reflection here, so I'm going to come over and choose the Ellipse tool. With the Ellipse tool, you want to choose white for the fill color. Then come over and just create a circle kind of over here in the top right section of the owl's eye. Again, I'm going to drag out from the center, so I'm going to hold down the Option key, Alt on Windows. Just click and drag out a circle like so. And then you want a smaller one over here on the right-hand side. Again, I'm holding down the Option key, Alt on Windows to drag out from the center. I'll just go ahead and move it over here like this. You can highlight the Selection tool and click away from it, and that looks pretty good. So what we want to do is duplicate this on the other side of the owl's face. So I'm going to select all of these circles that we created. I'm going to click here, hold down the Shift key, click here, here, and here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to group these together, and we're going to talk about groups in much greater detail in our next course. But if we come up to the Object menu, from there we can choose Group, and that will give us the ability to easily select all of those elements. The first thing that I want to do is move it over to the right a little bit. I just used the right arrow key on the keyboard. Then you want to hold down the Alt key on Windows, Option on the Mac, click and drag to the right. And what that will do is duplicate it as you're dragging. When you let go of the mouse, you'll notice we have a second eye now. So I think that looks pretty good. Now the only thing that we want to do is we want to add a larger circle in the background to give this character more of an owl appearance. So again, come over and choose the Ellipse tool. I'm going to go ahead and select that lighter tan color or beige color or whatever you want to call it. Then you want to create that circle. And this circle will exceed the height of these guides. So again, I'm going to hold down the Alt key option on the Mac to drag out from the center. Hold down the Shift key to make it a circle. And we want it to go pretty much to the edge of the owl's head. Once you're happy, you can let go of the mouse. And of course, this circle is now in front of the eye, which is not good. So we're going to come up to the Object menu. And from there, we can choose Arrange. And then we'll choose Send Backwards. The keyboard shortcut is Command left bracket. And that will put this circle behind the eye. And of course, what we need to do is duplicate this. Press the V key on the keyboard to activate the selection tool. Hold down the Alt key on Windows, Option on the Mac. Click and drag this to the right. So you have a duplicate, and you want it to touch the edge of the owl's head on the right side. So that looks pretty good. If you have to adjust the eye a little bit, which I think we need to nudge it over, you can do that. But for the most part, if we zoom out, it looks like our owl is coming together. The owl now has eyes, which is going to be helpful for the owl. What we want to do, obviously, next is finish out the owl. We still have a lot to do on the owl. We have to create the beak, the body, the wings, and the feet. But at this point, we at least have the owl's head and the owl's eyes.